Anybody want to buy a slightly used CW? Anybody?
No, thanks. Everything that they have, excluding Superman and Lois, is trash.
I
used to like Riverdale. I actually have the beanie that Jughead wears in season 1 and 2, but then it went downhill from there.
And that's why I wanted to bring this up to you, because we both had like our own experiences with shows we thought were all right.
Yeah, like the Supernatural show.
You liked Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
Were you also a fan of like Vampire Diaries? That's not my thing.
I watched like episodes here and there, but I never fully got into it because I was like, okay, you have doppelgangers.
Doppelgangers, yeah.
Yeah, doppelgangers. I always call it doppelgangers because it
sounds like that would make more sense, right?
It makes more sense, but then people
Doppel is probably double for in another language.
It's German.
German, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the two little dots above the.
But it makes more sense saying double because there's two.
Yes.
And it's English.
Yes.
But no, it's doppelgangers. Basically, when Vampire Diaries did that, because there was Nina and she had a doppelganger who was named something else.
They did that in Fringe too, but Fringe did it better, where they had basically like a second dimension version of themselves from another planet or from another time,
Well,
dimension.
like how Vampire Diaries explain it is actually they're somewhat related, but not really. Like, it was so confusing because like her love interest, basically she had to. It was like a love story because love triangle.
Those shows where that was like their bread and butter.
Yeah, because Twilight was popular, so they tried to do it too.
Thank you.
But I didn't like it because it got messy. Because like finally she chose the one that she wanted, and I was like, dude, you could have just let it right there. I don't care anymore. And then when they did the originals, I liked the guy who plays as Klaus because I thought he was really handsome looking.
Well, that's how they market those shows.
Yeah, but then that show got very annoying too because like he had like too many love triangles.
It's like Arya from Pretty Little Liars, right? That her name, Arya. She cheated on every boyfriend she ever had. She's a genuinely awful person.
Well, like basically, I think that's where it went down.
Not that I watched Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah, he did.
I did through season 4.
Did.
I admit that I did through season 4. It's kind of like crack cocaine. It's very addictive for a while.
Well,
you got to get away from it.
I don't know. Like for me, I was like, this kind of sucks because it's also from the generation that produced Gossip Girl, which you can watch the new one on HBO Max, which is even worse. Why are teachers trying to ruin students' lives? Basically, like the new Gossip Girl, the whole concept of that show is like the teachers are fed up with the rich kids who are more successful than them. So they try to ruin their lives.
That's awful.
Exactly.
That's like the most like cynical, depressing idea I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm. But they brought back a reoccurring character who nobody cared about in the original Pretty Little Liars. And she's like, I remember back in my day, we had this account that was called Gossip Girl, and they would write gossip about every popular kid in the school. Let's do it to these kids. And I'm like, dude, you're like 40. And you're trying
Why are you doing this?
Why are you trying to ruin like kids that are trying to like improve their lives? Like, yeah, so what if one of them is a model? So what if the other one is like a millionaire at age 16?
It's like a failed version of Cobra Kai. Like Cobra Kai is ridiculous, but it does just enough to keep you invested in the story where the ridiculousness doesn't overshadow the fact that you're invested in.
They don't want to ruin children's lives.
But I'm saying like they both make you ask the question like, would this ever happen in the real world? Like, would there really be competing dojos in the Valley in California? Probably not, but the show is well enough made that the absurdity kind of washes over you. Whereas when you watch like what you're talking about, you're like,
I didn't watch it. I watched the review on it because like I was really curious. I do this a lot where I watch reviews first before I decide whether or not I want to watch a show, or if Brett like hypes me up enough where I'll watch the show willy-nilly. But this show was so much trash because like the girl who's the model, she has a half sister, and they're about to be best friends until the teachers ruin their lives because like
awful.
The model, she had a boyfriend, and like her boyfriend was kind of like, I don't know, should I break up with her? I don't know. She's kind of pretty. She's kind of rich too. I'm kind of rich. But her half sister is really pretty.
There was a show called The Lying Game that felt very similar to this.
Well, like the teachers, their whole thing was like they're stalking the students off campus.
Very creepy.
And I was like, who has time for this? Like, Don't you have lives?
Don't you have like are you married? Do you have like you have to go pay bills? Do you have stuff to do? Do you have friends like book club or something?
Yeah.
So but the point is like these are the shows that like that is why the CW is up for sale. That and the fact that they make garbage like Batwoman and Supergirl or I shouldn't say they make garbage like they ruined Supergirl after
they ruined Supergirl. They ruined
Arrow.
The Flash.
They ruined Arrow. They ruined the Flash. I would put the first 2 seasons of Arrow and the first 2 seasons of the Flash up against any superhero.
Well, I would say the same thing for Riverdale. Like the first 2 episodes, yes, it was kind of like
episodes or seasons.
I like only the 2 episodes.
Okay, I'm talking about the first 2 full seasons.
Okay,
shows.
The 2 seasons were okay too, but like after season 3, it was kind of weird because like initially when they wrote the show and when they're interviewing the director, he was like, "Oh, it's not gonna be supernatural," but then like they retconned that whole thing. Newest season that they have basically is supernatural because like they brought in the actress who plays Sabrina in the Netflix show because it's made by the same directors and supposedly they're in the same universe. They brought her in. She's like, "Oh yeah, Cheryl Blossom, that's not the same one that you remembered. I actually put her relative's old soul in her body."
Okay, so
it's just stupid. Just sell it, burn it to the ground.
So it says when we think of the CW these days, it's usually in terms of capes and tights. Not surprising, given how much of the network schedule is filled with the various superhero shows produced by Greg Berlanti and his wide array of collaborators and co-producers. But now we'll have to start thinking of it in a different descriptor. For sale. That's right, folks. For the low price of probably millions of dollars, you'll be able to get your hands on a slightly used 16-year-old TV network. The THR reports on today on a letter issued by CW employees by network CEO Mark Pedowitz, confirming rumors that the channel's joint owners Viacom CBS and Warner Media are putting it up on the block. So that's why so many of those DC shows ended up there is because it's a Warner Media subsidiary. And Warner Media, if you don't know, owns all of DC Comics in their publishing. So it says some background context. The CW was founded in 2006 out of the wreckage of Warner WB's and Viacom's UPN. Miracle is probably too young to even remember.
What's UPN?
Oh my God, Miracle. So think the show Moesha.
I never watched it, but it's on Netflix, right?
I honestly don't know if it's
it's on Netflix.
It starred Brandy Norwood, who played Cinderella in an early Disney iteration.
Are you excited for Sneakerella?
No, I am not excited for the awful idea that is Sneakerella. So the UPN also had a funny show called oh my God, was that Two Guys, a Girl, in a Pizza Place? That might have been a different network. And there was also Shasta McNasty, which might have been the worst 12 episodes of TV, or like 8 to 12 episodes of TV you'll ever see. Had Carmine the guy from CSI New York, and he also played the bad guy in season 3 of Graceland. Good actor, but horrible show called Shasta McNasty. If you can find it online and watch it, hate watch it. It's incredible.
Hate watch it.
The network is owned jointly by the 2 companies. It says so UPN with the also ran 2 networks merging together to try and fill the gaps that left America's heart they had a show called Homeboys in Outer Space.
Oh, I remember that.
Yep. So you can imagine the fodder that was the horror. I loved the late 90s or the 90s as far as television goes, but I'm also of that generation. I admit that. It just felt so much. Just felt so much better to me. It says the network is owned jointly by the 2 companies, with each supposedly set to provide half its content. The arrival of Warner's Berlanti stuff, and the fact that Viacom has mostly been offering up the likes of Dynasty and Charmed, which you mentioned Dynasty earlier.
Dynasty is good for like the first season, and then Charmed, the new one, really sucks.
Really bad.
It really sucks. Do not watch it.
I think it's also the same network that does the Walker Texas Ranger remake. Walker Texas Ranger's even older than me. It's what Chuck Norris got famous for. But it's got one of the guys from Supernatural. One of the brothers is the lead actor.
Which one? The older or younger?
I don't know.
Dean or Sam?
I don't know.
Long hair or short hair?
I think long hair.
Okay, that's Sam.
Do you know his real name?
Nope.
Okay. I don't know which one it is. But the money logic behind the sale is kind of interesting insofar as it's another symptom of the breakdown of the old symbiotic relationship between networks and streamers. As an ad-driven network, the CW has never been especially profitable. That's one of the funny things about it is you have to, they literally would do, when you do like ratings breakdowns, you have like CBS numbers and you have ABC numbers for, they'll do like a 1.5 or as far as like what their ratings are in the 18 to 49 demographic. And then you get like the CW numbers, which are way lower, but it's also not expected to make more. So they've kind of got like a good night for The Flash is like an average night for like a CBS show. So it says the CW has never been especially profitable, typically lagging far behind the other four major networks in terms of ratings, but it found its niche for itself in recent years as a content provider, licensing shows like Arrow, The Flash to Netflix in deals that both A, generated cash, and B, boosted the linear ratings for the Berlantiverse shows after Netflix viewings got fans hooked. I would say, so they're saying after Netflix got fans hooked on those shows. I thought they were saying like after Netflix's like Daredevil and stuff got popular. No, this were before. Arrow came out in 2012.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't that crazy? Like that was a long time. Like it feels like a different time. I just like every so often I'll go and rewatch that pilot. It's so good. And it's just weird that the network would now be up for sale because it feels like it's their own fault. They've kind of courted this super politically correct, super woke audience that will tell you all day on Twitter that they watch these shows, but the ratings never bear that out. So there's nothing you can do, right? So and then if you change anything, then they complain, and they may not watch it, but they're very loud when they don't get what they want.
That's for sure.
So, but the rise of the streaming wars has taken a crowbar to the knee of that whole concept. With HBO Max and Paramount Plus ever hungry for content, it makes less sense to funnel shows to a company like Netflix, which is less a customer these days than it is a direct competitor. So Netflix is making their own stuff. HBO Max wants to own their own stuff. I just saw recently that they put Casino Royale, the James Bond movie, back on Netflix, which is weird because Amazon just bought MGM, like the company that owns all the rights to those movies.
Okay, well then it might be contracted.
Yeah,
for
like
a little while.
They'll have it for like 6 months to a year. That's the worst part. It's like I was rewatching a show called Numbers recently. I love that show, David Krumholtz, and then you get the dreaded message like in your watch later box or in your continue watching box where it says like expires in 14 days, and you're like, oh, I got to get it all watched now before then, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to watch it on a clock. Like it's annoying when you could be watching something and you go back to look at it the next day and you're like, wasn't that on this? Maybe that was on Hulu, and then you go look at the other one and it's not there and you don't know where the hell the show went. Yeah. It's very annoying. You have to like sign up for like on YouTube, they have like whole channels that are dedicated to telling you when things come to a streaming service and when they leave. Yeah. Yeah. So I imagine that courting these audiences, super woke, super politically correct, on top of the fact that the Riverdale audience, I think, is just dwindling because nobody cares about vampires anymore, or not the River, but also the originals, and like you know what I'm talking about. Like,
well, the originals was over before everybody was tired of vampires.
But what's it now? Legacies? Is that the other one that has like the similar text? Okay, yeah, like nobody, like those shows have like their hardcore core audience, but it's not enough to keep a network running. And then to prove, I want to mention that they haven't learned their lesson. There is this article from Bounding into Comics that says executive producer Ava DuVernay confirms that the CW's Naomi will emphasize identity politics.
Nope.
So they have not, and they will not learn their lessons.
What is Naomi about?
We're about to find out together. I believe it's another DC character.
Yeah. I was looking at the fan art and I was like, I don't know what this is.
The art's pretty good, but it's not really like there's not like a lot of detail to it yet, but I'm sure they'll come along. But you and I both know that this is going to be Ava DuVernay is the lady who made Wrinkle in Time. Yeah. And that's the one.
That's a terrible movie.
Where Brie Larson says, "I don't need to know what a 40-year-old white dude. I don't need to care what a 40-year-old white dude thinks about this movie. It wasn't made for him." They love that phrase. It wasn't made for them. And then they get, what it is they say, this wasn't made for you. And then when nobody goes to see it, they say, why didn't anybody come to see our movie?
Because you
literally told people not to.
Yeah.
So it says the CW's upcoming superhero series Naomi, based on the miniseries created by Brian Michael Bendis and David F. Walker, will emphasize identity politics, confirms the show's executive producer Ava DuVernay. DuVernay, who's infamous for threatening to discriminate against white men, recently talked about the show on the Television Critics Association, as reported by Deadline. It's not about representation; it's about normalization. The executive producer claimed, "We're doing really muscular things that relates to race and gender and class, but we're doing it by playing it normal, like it's just part of the everyday." So they're admitting that there's agenda in it, which people, whether they like it or not, people can see right through this stuff.
Well, okay, I just read a summary who Naomi is, like, as a character. So her superhero name is Powerhouse, and her abilities are similar to Superman. So it's going to be a female
Superman. Okay.
Superman.
You could do that well. I mean, you could do that well. You could do a Steel show
like,
well.
Basically, you know how like Kate Bishop, like she's a big fan of basically
of Hawkeye,
of Clint and Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Like she's a big fan of him. Basically, she's a big fan of Superman, and like she kind of manifested.
I wonder if they're going to do it as a like if we say we get Superman in here, do they bring in Tyler Hoechlin's Superman from Superman and Lois? I would hope not, because that feels like it's in a separate timeline, even though like it's all over the place as far as accuracy there. I say keep Superman and Lois in its own place and don't let anybody near it.
Yeah, I like it already. I still need to continue watching it, but I like it so far.
This paragraph is what made me want to do this article, though. It says, she elaborated, "I say it kiddingly, but it's real. The more you can portray images without underlying or highlighting them and putting a star next to them, by showing a different type of hero that centers a black girl that centers different kinds of folks, we start to make that normal, and it's a radical revolutionary thing." They never, ever, ever do that. They always highlight it. They always make it a talking point.
Yeah.
They always make it the selling point that people feel is disingenuous and agenda driven.
Yeah.
They literally do the opposite of what they're talking about here. What she's saying, if she had actually followed that advice, is exactly right. Like, that's exactly how you do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's exactly, there's a reason why things that were successful in the 90s and the 2000s were successful, because nobody talked about the agenda in it. Like, you can put it in there, but don't make it the focal point of the promotion. Otherwise, people feel like they're being preached to. Yeah. We're not looking for edutainment. We're looking for entertainment. They're different things. And then I like this. It says, someone should let her know that Storm was the leader of the X-Men and has been around since 1975.
Exactly.
So it is what it is. This is why the CW is failing. I'm sorry. I know that's hard.
Just burn it to the ground and start it over.
Sell it to HBO Max or something, or say, actually they got their own problems going on. All of these companies are constantly shuffling money around, and all this stuff is going on. But
why don't you just sell all your properties to Disney and see what happens?
No, don't even joke about something like that. That is a horrible idea. She's like laughing at it because she knows that's like the worst idea in the entire world.
Yep.
It's truly awful.
I'm secretly sick.
You are?
No.
Oh yeah, she's messed up in the head deep down. Thanks for watching this clip, guys. If you want to see full episodes or follow us on social media, links are in the description below. Bye.